We're just going live from the current location with a few topics to discuss. Across the street is like a large litter box, and that's all the, I'm not certain how generic or brand items for certain, if people have a certain kind of, not wildlife animal, maybe that's the best way to discuss that, that would be out in nature, maybe in a different geographic location, in a more hospitable way, or a zoo animal or a house pet that they don't take outside for continence and continence training. And instead of a litter incontinence pad for the small animal, there's a incontinence box or something like that. So aside from that, as far as like no preconceived notion, no association, and the rate and frequency that we encounter hostility, is usually we don't avoid the circumstance, right? Because we're forced into a situation with no support, and so our primary goal, and again, this is a distorted version of my physical appearance. This is actually not at all how I look, despite what I'm wearing and what's happened to my hair color, which is to be only temporary. My hair color is supposed to go back to the right color. My skin color is supposed to go back to the right color. And I'm supposed to be able to see an accurate physical picture of myself, and I don't see that right now. So this is a stranger, essentially. But we remain committed to documentation for a few reasons. So as far as like my husband's absence and then all of this hostility that we encounter on a regular basis and the primary demographic, we've said this before, our observations are that it's predominantly Black or brown people, and then they'll send in white people. So there's a group of people that are working together. As far as like the topic of racism, I'm white. So as far as our family and being multinational, we have not had a chance to discuss as far as traditional attire, garments. We haven't discussed. My understanding is that we were at a fashion week before this all happened. We were planning what we wanted for, this is sad, right? Thinking of all of our older brothers we wanted to contact and find. And we're trying to set these plans, and we don't know anybody to perceive being left out or not thought of, just like the devastation, right, of this kind of, how this is taking a toll on our family. And that's it. There are many examples of that. We were at Fashion Week, and somebody said, we were working with a designer, and there was a suggestion just for another consecutive series of interventions for whatever the goals were at that time. We were building a wardrobe, which is not uncommon for us, and someone was there. If I'm recalling correctly, this was not a skit seller, this actually happened. There were people that were there that, I don't know if Charles Earl's stepdaughter was there, or if it was Dad Rick's. I don't even know if they're his children. And me and my husband, our family is a certain way to handle the comment. We don't know why, because they're not really. Are we close with? Yes, but we're not really close with necessarily their children through other women, if that's okay to say that. Is that because of age difference, or is that because they just have their own lives that are established and they consider the other parent to be their primary parent? So that is recurring, not always, but that the certain women couldn't handle in a kind of, I wouldn't say palpable, but in a visceral way. There was a noticeable shift to almost hospitable, not tourism, but then like terroristic threats, essentially saying they wanted to break my ankles. And we've documented about this before. That was really unnecessary, and they are basically strangers to us, and we don't know why. We get the impression that the dads were kind of stunned, but they're just really nasty people, and we don't know necessarily if there was a brief or debrief of, I don't even know how much time that dad spent with them, to be very honest. I don't know if he just had a completely separate life and they just used his picture. So he's like our dad, if that's the right way to say that. So I don't even know how they got an invitation, to be very honest, because that would not be uncommon. Our dads are very, very, very successful men. They don't tolerate nonsense. So I don't even know. I don't know if it was just a matter of like, okay, I'm sure they're financially set, but then unfortunately. So I can't see myself right now. This garment, although sheer, is somewhat helpful. When the students were moving out, we had seen some items like placed for the trash, and there was a smaller purse or handbag that was helpful. This morning, the strap had been problematic since we had acquired that, and we had this luggage here. We had purchased the luggage and then seen this in the trash, and we put the other luggage in the trash. We needed to repair the wheel, so we were considering if we could get super glue, although the nature of the attacks. So just that wheel needs to be repaired, and that's a recurring theme with these physical torture tactics, because whoever is trying to hurt me knows that they forced me into this situation. So we have this luggage here that's helpful for longer treks, and the durability, although we remain appropriately cautious, but where we're supposed to be able to rest is still a problem. And we were over at a set of steps, and we would just carry the luggage up, and the dexterity of the angles and spatial was a little bit different up there versus kind of like a clean, we'll say clean and press, if that's the right way to say that, and how sudden the impact could be on your body. So really ensuring that your body mechanics are appropriate. The length of this, like if I'm in the restroom, I'll tie this up around my waist because I don't want this touching the toilet seats. I don't want this touching the cubicle of the toilet stall. I'm really that concerned about infection control because of what we witnessed while we've been camping out. There's a group of people that are just, they have a different standard of hygiene that is not like sterile or clean procedure even. So not the carcinogenic value of topical powder, ointment, agents, or anything like that. There's an aerosol component to the scent of those kinds of products as well. And then hair care, even for myself with my texture of hair, that was the issue with being legally banned from the gym. I need to be able to rinse off in the shower. I need to be able to rinse my hair. Didn't have access to a comb initially. Wherever I was at, I had to vacate where I was abducted from. So I didn't have any items with me. So wherever I was at, I had to vacate where I was abducted from. So I didn't have any items with me. I'm trying to really break me. I mean, really, our stuff, put on my clothing while I'm like resting. Aerosol agent has been dropped and pretending to be me. That's disgusting, right? Um, so this morning, evaluating and assessing body mechanics to maneuver the luggage was extremely helpful, and the length of the strap on the purse has been a problem, right? Since the one-side band or the accessory that we don't use pleather items, so like the polyurethane is a problem for us. And we really try to be practical about what we're using, but at the same time, we have to gauge how we're being harassed and terrorized and stalked. So these people are just repugnant and indignant, and they continue to try to strip me of any facet of my identity. And I don't understand. They walk around with an insidious ferocity of a fuming anger. Like there's a contempt, there's a resentment, and there's an aggression, there's a hostility. And they don't even know me, but they believe they have the right to try to sell me as if I'm a product. But they want to denigrate me every step of the way. And they try to take everything. Me having this, we're discussing, like, let's take inventory on the condition of the item, we'll pay for the item. Like, I don't have access to our money right now, but as soon as I can contact my husband and get a hold of him, we really appreciate this, regardless of the motive. This is somehow, been part of the step-by-step process and journey. So even if that was never the intention, we still follow through, or we don't even think that people necessarily want that from us, but this will ultimately end up being an investigation, right? So we're not bribing, we're not coercing or anything like that. And we don't get the impression that anyone's trying to bribe or coerce us if something ends up out in the trash. But so we don't want people implicated either, so that we can't even if stuff's out in the trash unless I get the impression I'm supposed to look. I'm not supposed to look or touch anything in the trash. So, but people get so jealous. They get jealous because they believe that these strangers, these individuals, male, female, middle sex, or non-binary, believe that they should be able to be entitled to anything and everything just so that they can have that. They are so dysfunctional. We do have to ask these questions. Do you pay your taxes? And maybe that's like the most realistic starting point. For you don't pay your taxes, then I don't know how they can't. You're trespassing, right? Like, I mean, as far as citizenship and everything like that, we're the landowners. We don't want our land to be used for these kinds of activities. So the level of just dysfunctional, lack of cognitive function, but these people are like really a threat. They are extremely a threat. They're most likely why our stuff that was stashed was stolen. And they try to coordinate with people at the I mean, they are really nasty people. And it seems that some of the people that have worked at the cafes have gone to Broad Street Ministry. So they like mingle and get to know each other. There are certain industries like parallel economy industries. There seems that a lot of the people, and we don't want sex workers working at our franchises at all. And that is something that is disclosed. That's supposed to be disclosed during an interview. Like, if you've had a history of working as a sex worker, if we find out, you cannot work for us because you're bringing high-risk population to our storefronts, and we don't want that. And infection control is part of why that's high risk. So that's not prejudice and that's not bias, that's the reality. So there's a different kind of standard, and we don't want to mingle with people that have a lower standard. So as far as the psychology of fatigue and coping, because these people won't stop watching, they stalk. And so they create these narratives that they believe are true that are not true. And then they recruit people and they talk about me and they gossip, but they only, excuse me. They don't even know me. Maybe they know who tried to traffic me, but they don't know me. Do I believe that do I get the impression that someone's trying to hurt me or persecute me? No, actually not at all. I wouldn't even, me and my husband, we never really discussed being stalked. We've learned this all by accident, by proximity by accident. So we had not, I'm not saying that we didn't, I don't know how our parents discussed or managed their grievances or their security concerns, but that's something that has to be reviewed, because maybe my husband would say to me, well, we should have been protected from this shouldn't have ever happened to us. And I would say, I agree. I completely agree with you. This should not have ever happened to us. And then the irritation, as much as we really appreciate that we have our brothers, I don't know if people are just really angry with Carolyn. Why didn't anyone protect Carolyn? Why did this happen? We don't regret our life. We don't regret that we have a life to experience together. But like me and my husband get to know so many of our older brothers, if they want to be part of our lives, but they weren't protected. And so Howard was our oldest brother. Howard was the first who was kind of like a parent to us, even though he's our older brother, was the first biological family member to have this conversation with us. And he had that conversation with us very early. But he didn't officially formally address the security concerns. And we met Luis too. Luis and Scott and Howard, those were our first three older brothers. I don't know if we lived together for a little while. I don't know where Charles Earl was, because I get the impression we were with Charles. I don't know if Charles Earl wanted to officially even though we're emancipated. I get the impression that Charles Earl, because I don't know where Diana was at. I don't know. I don't know if our parents abandoned us. So we've seen Kat, and we didn't initially know that was her, and we didn't realize and recognize us. I didn't know she's rare looking, like she's a superstar or a model or something like that. She's rare looking, but she was, from what I've learned about pedestrian traffic, she looks like she's a drug addict. So I don't really have an opinion. I don't know that I would have been prepared to know that. I don't know if that's why Howard was really cautious. But I have to ask, my John Jr. is not a drug addict. So I guess our understanding is that she was visiting home. She was visiting Europe, if that's correct. And that's how she ended up pregnant with me. And then once she gave birth to me, she left. So she made my mom, Diana, and dad, John, and Charles Earl all lived together for a little while. That's correct. And so Carolyn may have just visited the estate for whatever reason. Maybe grandma and grandpa were there. Maybe there was a holiday or something. I don't know. And then she was pregnant. She was pregnant for a very brief time. And then once I was delivered, she left. And I don't know, I guess dad left too. So we were married, there was a marriage ceremony, and they may have been there for that, or maybe it was just Diana and Earl that had me and my married. They filed an emergency wedding certificate. We have birth certificates, we have citizenship. So I don't know where John is at, but that was not him with Carolyn. John is taller than Carolyn. That is correct, right? So I don't know if he's disgusted by how he impregnated her, because I don't know if he's repulsed by her. They had been really good friends when he was little. He wasn't bullied or completely mocked for his hair, but my dad preferred his solitude. He kind of just kept to himself. I don't think he was concerned about rejection from peers. I think he had realistic standards and just decided to self-preserve. I mean, that's how he, I don't even know who raised him, to be very honest now, especially when like Grandma and Grandpa Wales are alive. Then who raised him? Who raised him? So, because he's affiliated and he knows Charles Earl from childhood, so I don't understand. They're so affluent, prominent, influential. This just seems so like he almost sounds like he was an orphan. So I don't know, because apparently Grandpa was told he was dead, but I guess Grandma and Grandpa didn't associate with Charles Earl with that community at that time, because they didn't know that great grandpa was dad and father-in-law. So, I mean, this is really lame, and the kinds of the immaturity associated with what's going on. But infection control remains a priority. So, one step at a time, and we're so thankful for resources that have been available. And we do try to keep receipts, although certain people don't seem to be concerned with that because of how we have to set boundaries at times. We don't want to erode the possibility for the integrity and respect associated with a certain kind of character. There have been people that unfortunately maybe didn't realize that people were trying to overlap with their hospitality and charity efforts. Like if you just give me 15 minutes of your time, I'm not a sex worker, right? Like I don't solicit or loiter or anything like that. We try to be really cautious. We try to look up the laws on homelessness and permits for camping. But the grievances with this are that we need permits, right? Should we be camping out like this? No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. So yesterday evening, I'm not really certain if necessary to have an opinion. I can say how I interpreted the lack of evening. I'm not really certain if necessary to have an opinion. I can say how I interpreted the lack of professionalism and social etiquette, predominantly with one encounter, and how that can create challenges in what's to be a professional approach and dynamic. We have not had positive experiences. The people that have trafficked me, usually it's Maud or the fake Maud or the fake Claire Lamont, and initially Mary Jo Lamont, that were really causing problems. So we can't be responsible with as much sympathy and apathy. We can't be responsible for this level of chaos and drama and dysfunction. At some point, Mary Jo and Frank Jr.'s 2 out of their 3 children disappeared, and they didn't know. So 2 other women stepped in, they're causing problems, or yeah, the two other women stepped in their place, and either they didn't know or they worked together. I may have seen Mary Jo Incognito over in this way, and they're causing problems. I don't. Frankie and her twin sister Jessie are problematic, and they may be and they might be triplets. Actually, there might be a third, or one of them, or Frankie and Jessie aren't twins, and there might be a twin. They might have a brother through their biological mom that nobody knew about. And Mary and Frank might have a son that they didn't know that they had. So that has a daughter that might be their, or a son that might be their cousin, something like that. So, I mean, this is, and all three are around the same age and they're a problem. Frankie, her twin sister, and either their triplet brother or their cousin who might be transgender or just of a certain aesthetic. They're problematic, and we don't know that they knew they existed. So Frankie and Jessie knew they existed, that they've been raised being told they're twins, and then Jessie might look more like her maternal cousin, and her maternal cousin's dad might be Claire's twin brother, the real Claire's twin brother. I've seen both of them. So, and then the imposter that's impersonating the real Claire might be the restaurateur's twin sister. So, this is, and the real Maud, if okay to mention, she lost her child. She had been pregnant, and I don't know, we've met her. So we've met the real Maud. I don't remember exactly why or how, but whenever we were here all those years ago, is that because they try to fuse a 20-year timeline, like 97 to 2004 or something like that, or 2006 to right now. They're trying to fuse a timeline. So we do evaluate and assess, okay, well, what can be viable? But if we speak to the personnel, like the detectives, this is like no nonsense. This has been high risk for many, many reasons. And now we're at a different stage, if that's the correct way to say that. So I'm not really sure that me here is helpful, and I don't really know. I can't go to if we're in agreement. So I don't know. My concern is that if we're indoors, even though we should be able to be in a primary private residence, I don't know how to process, like, if I'm supposed to be at home with my husband, we've got that, right? And I don't know what's going on or what he's managing, but what I can say is that I don't want to be anywhere near anyone that didn't stop this from happening. It doesn't mean that they meant to hurt me, but for whatever reason, they were compromised themselves, and I don't know that they're necessarily even in a safe zone yet. So I don't know what the solution is. I initially had wondered if we wouldn't go with a residency program like NGO stuff, but if we were, I'm married, right? And I need to know where my husband's at, right? We've been through that. And my husband needs to know where I'm at, and he needs to be able to see me at all times. And I should be able to see him at all times, right? But because I'm still like in this situation, this is just extremely tough. But we had wondered if the dorm over here, we could never Airbnb, we didn't know if we could just get access to one of our buildings, but then if I need to stay at a distance socialized, we didn't know if I'm not enrolled as a student here. We didn't know if the dorm was maybe the dorm right over here might have been maybe the best solution if we had to quickly get out of the dorm. But we we weren't concerned that that would put anyone at risk, but we don't know, to be honest. So now we don't even know if that's initially someone saying, oh, you're my guest, you can sit at the counter, right, on the lobby level is very, very different. Now we're at a difference, whereas like then, maybe that would have been viable. The other building was 2400 Chestnut Street, and we had wondered if we could just, well, we wondered if we could just purchase that building, even though it's illegally built on our land, and use that. But because of how horrible our experience was there, we don't think that that's realistic. Or we'd have to get rid of all the existing staff. So we had wondered if maybe that was the best space, because there's like grad students and some families that live there and undergraduate students that live there. So it's kind of like high-rise apartments over here, just a little bit of a different location that would maybe be a little more optimal. Or not. We get the impression that for whatever reason, being on campus here is optimal. But but the space is like, we're limited to this space because we have nowhere to store our stuff. So we tried to get a job working as like a household cleaner, cleaning churches. We can't downgrade the integrity of our work. So we can't ever lower our price. So we weren't able to showcase our work. We had considered if we could showcase like large gallery scale. We were trying to coordinate with our sibling cousin that's a lawyer for showcasing art, like gallery size or festival, we don't say festival, but gallery size walkthrough exhibition, or not like lantern lighting artwork, but something along those lines of the felicity of a gallery, not like a sterile, nothing that would be not respecting the integrity of what we would be showcasing of our artwork. We also have to be very careful with our intellectual property, right? So our artwork is part of our intellectual property, and calculations and all that. We have our artwork scaled at every possible dimension, angle, and that's ours. We own that in color and textile. That's ours. So the commitment to steal and trying to get ahead of that and financing help in consideration of our short-term and long-term goals, we haven't received any tax money, which we're owed that. So that was what we were initially considering realistically, but we can't, what's mine is my husband's, so I can't, we don't give anything away. So I wasn't really sure. I couldn't, and then assistance with documents, but my understanding is that because of this, the classified nature and the security level, which is almost like a terrorism security level, I'm almost supposed to have an alias, but this is too problematic, right? Because I was forced here, and then people believe they have a narrative to use as fuel to back me into a corner and to outcast me and endanger my life. They've tried to make it like I was pretending to, like I was some old lady trying to be like someone that I wasn't. And we don't believe in ageism or anything like that, but I mean, they've been really absolutely horrible for no reason. I can't see myself, but my understanding is that I look very, like, younger than this. And I even have to prepare myself to see myself, like how young I may actually look. So that people might be perplexed by me. I don't really know how to process that because I don't know how you see me, right? So I don't think they automatically go to, well, she looks like a child, or interact with her like she's a child, or, you know, there's no way this kid could be out here by herself like this. I don't know, to be honest. I don't know that I necessarily look like I'm in middle school or high school. I don't know if I look younger than the students. Okay, so I didn't know, to be honest. So, but even more so, but then like the people that want me to approach me. So yeah, David. So I think, I don't know if my husband is officially able to meet. Um, um, I get the impression that my dad's understanding how tough this is for me and husband, for us, but because I haven't been able to give him a hear his voice or anything like that. I don't know if I don't know what's possible. But, we just want, so I was trying to understand like what the goals are now that we're at this stage if we had tried to coordinate communication. And I didn't know what if there was anything else that was, I don't know that I need to be here for what's needed other than if there were certain categories of information associated with the typical day and hours of operation of the cafes and the movement, the traffic. But if we have like gym equipment at home, then we're fine. If we have all that stuff coordinated and we have realistic security standards because we can't risk or compromise, I would really love to just go home understanding that me and my husband will be in the same place. This is really horrible. That all for me. So yeah, I need to be able to see myself. That's the issue. I have to be able to see myself. And if I'm still to document regularly on a daily basis, I still need to be able to see myself. So I don't know what the solution is because I will not sit next to my husband if this is what I see, because that's not what I look like. So, I mean, I don't know if we're swapping devices or if we keep this and just, I was trying to get another device, but everything that we get seems to, there are people that can't accept that they're not invited to be part of our life, and they try to stalk us. So we have to build our own stuff. We can't order stuff. Like, we ordered this because we were forced into this situation. We paid cash for this. So that's, we had to, right? We had to work within the parameters that became our life. But like, this is not normal. This is pathetic. These people are repugnant, indignant, and they're violent. They are extremely violent. All of them. So I just want to make sure that I discuss the topics that were important to review. And if there are any topics that were not mentioned, please let us know so that we can follow up right away. The nature of this is a lot. So I need to know that this will never happen again. We need to know that. And we had seen if some dental students embracing and embraced the other morning, and we can't be around that. So we don't know if somebody tried to set somebody up. And we're not saying that they condone, or I don't know if the girl, like, I don't know, but we can't, if important to mention that there's no secrets. So we don't want to be rude or mean, but if there's any other topic that's important to review within the next hour or throughout the next 12 hours or 24 hours, please let us know right away so that we can respond right away. Thank you.